All right, you guys, so here we are at the very end of the workout. For the very last thing I want you to do is something called a cool down. This is very, very important. It's very, very essential, okay? We just got done beating you up. Your muscles have been fatigued. We put them under a lot of stress. What we need to do now is we need to properly cool down the body, and we need to also make sure that we properly release any knots that are in the muscle and also stretch any muscles that might be overactive and tight. So, you guys, there's basically two primary ways that we're going to be doing this. You can do actually either or a combination of the two. The very first thing we're going to start off with is foam rolling. Now, this is a foam roller. You can easily get this at any Walmart or Amazon. I would suggest getting one a little bit longer than this. This is about a foot long, but I would want you to get one that's usually about 24, maybe 36 inches long. Those are only about $15, $20 on Amazon or at Walmart or something like that. But foam rolling is the very first thing we're going to start with, and that's going to help release any knots or tension in the muscle, especially the muscles that are overactive and tight. The second thing that we're going to work on is also a static stretches, okay? That's just the simple stretches that you've probably seen and also performed multiple times in your life. So, you guys, with the very first thing, what we'll do is we'll start off with that self-myofascial release. I have about 4 things I'm going to show you very briefly, but we're always going to start from the top down, okay? So we're going to start with the upper body. In today's society, there's a lot of things and a lot of muscles on our bodies that are tight because of, for lack of a better way of putting it, you guys, our sedentariness in our society. This sedentariness kind of universally puts us in positions that then create problems with a specific set of muscles. Typically, when I'm looking at the upper body for most people, that muscle that is usually really, really tight is actually the lats right here. So muscle that connects to your shoulder and also to your entire back complex, and also the chest as well, okay? So the very first thing we're gonna do is a self-myofascial release or foam roll for the lats. This one, you guys, is super simple. You can grab a mat. If you're at the gym, grab a mat, grab a foam roll. If you're at home, you can also do this on the carpet. You don't actually need a mat if you're doing it on the carpet. But what I suggest you guys do is lay the foam roll in front of you. I want you to keep your arm out completely, and I want you to keep your body on your side, okay? And then you're gonna keep the foam roller almost in the armpit area, okay? I don't want it super far down on your ribs, because then that can actually damage your ribs. I don't want it so far up that you're up into the tricep of your arm, okay? You want it in the armpit area, okay? Keep your arm as straight out as you possibly can, and you're gonna roll back and forth on your lats. If you need to, you can use this arm, or I should say this hand, to push it back and forth. What you're trying to do, you guys, is find the spot in your muscle that is really tender, okay? That is a spot that you want to focus on the most and put the most pressure on, or at least as much pressure as you can bear, because this isn't always easy. And you're going to go back and forth as much as possible. The time limit for this, you guys, there is no real set time limit. You need to stay on that muscle that's tight for as long as you possibly can, okay? Until you feel it's a release, or you feel like it starts to become a little bit numb, but not numb in the fact that you're cutting off supply. It's just more like the pain goes away and you start to feel fine, kind of numbing. Okay, so that right there is a foam roll for your lats. You would also turn around on the other side and do it for your lats as well on that side. The next thing that we're gonna do is foam rolling your calves, okay? Now on this one, this is where it's really good to have one of those longer foam rollers. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna place the foam roll underneath your legs, okay? Specifically the calf part. Now, I want you to foam roll or focus on this portion of your calves right here, okay? You can get a little bit lower, but usually this is the point of most tension for most people, all right? So lay your calves across. If you can, prop yourself up, and you're gonna roll back and forth on your calves, okay? Just like so. You can turn your feet out, which is going to emphasize the lateral head of the calf, or you can turn your feet in, which is going to emphasize the medial head of your calf, or gastrocnemius. And that right there, you're just gonna roll back and forth until you start to feel a little bit of relief of those very, very tight spots. The next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna foam roll the hip flexors, okay? Now the hip flexors are a muscle complex right here in your hip, okay? They are what they, of course, are called hip flexors. They flex that hip, all right? These are typically really tight for those individuals who sit a lot throughout the day. So I want you to foam roll right in this area. So again, come down, lay your hip right on top of that foam roll, and dig in as much as you can. If you need to turn your body from side to side a little bit, dig in there a little bit. Foam rolling is not always the easiest thing to coach through, but you'll know it when you find those painful areas, okay? So that's how you foam roll the hip flexors. Of course, do it for the opposite side. And then the next thing we're gonna do is your IT band. The IT band is a band of tissue and muscle that runs along the entire side of your body, or I should say your leg. We're gonna specifically focus in on this area right here on both sides, okay? So here's what that's gonna look like. Again, using your foam roller, strengthen this leg, or straighten this leg out, lay it on top, cross this one over, and roll back and forth. You'll feel a lot of knots in here. Most people have very tight IT bands. Again, that's just because of a lot of the sitting and sedentariness that we do. Going back and forth. You guys, this one's gonna cause a decent amount of pain on here, so do it for as long as you can, and then just switch to the other side. So that is a really quick demonstration of foam rolling for, again, the lats, the calves, the hip flexors, and the IT band. The next thing we want to do actually is show you how to do static stretches. Now, like I said, if any of the foam rolling things that I just showed you are a little bit too crazy and you feel like you can't quite get into the positions, I want you to do just static stretches until you feel comfortable enough to go into the foam rolling, okay? So the static stretches, we'll show you that next. Again, we're gonna start from the top down, so we're gonna work on the lats first, all right? So the lats are a really easy one to stretch out, you guys. All you have to do is find a stationary object, like a bench, if you're at home, like maybe the top of a couch, or a pole, or maybe a post or something like that. Grab onto the side, get a nice firm grip, and all you're gonna do is hinge at the hips, come down, and stretch out that arm. You should feel a good stretch from here all the way up into your armpit area, and you're gonna lay your body down as far as you possibly can, okay? Just like so. And while you're doing this, you guys, the time limit on this one is gonna be at least 30 seconds for 2 sets, okay? So of course I would do the opposite side. Hinge at the hips, come down as far as I can, and hold that for 2 sets of at least 30 seconds. There's no reason why you can't do longer than that. That's just the bare minimum, okay? So that's how you do a static stretch for the lats. The next thing we're gonna do is a stretch for the chest. Okay, so you guys, for those of you who are at home, you can easily do this on a door frame. Or if you're in the gym, you can easily do this holding onto any object whatsoever. So for those who have just a simple door frame to use, keep your hand up here, take this part of your body and rotate it out a little bit, and you should feel a good stretch across your chest right here, okay? For those of you who don't necessarily want to use a door frame, you can always just hold on to a stationary object and open it up. Bring your other arm out if you need to, but you should feel a good stretch in that chest right here, okay? You don't have to do it kneeling, you can also do it standing. But for the sake of this video, I'm kind of tall, so I need to be able to kneel a little bit. And that right there, of course, you would switch to the other side. That's how you stretch out the chest, you guys. Very, very simple. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is a lower back stretch. Now this one is very, very simple. Your feet are gonna be about 1 foot apart, okay? You have a slight bend in your knees. I want you to take your hands, wrap them around your legs, And you're gonna go down as far as you possibly can, okay? What this does is actually takes your hamstrings out of the equation by bending your knee slightly, and you should feel a good stretch in that lower back. So again, wrapping around, just like so. And you guys, again, that rule stands. 2 sets of 30 seconds, bare minimum. The next thing we're gonna do, hip flexors. This one is not the easiest position to get into unless you have either a nice pad or you have a nice thicker foam pad, just like so. Lay down. You always want to put the knee that is going to be on the ground on the pad. You're going to keep this leg in front of you, of course. Now on this one, you may see other people performing this in the gym, or you may have seen it done before, but you don't want to just lunge forward, okay? That will get a stretch in there, but that's not quite the area we want stretch. What I want you to do is engage your core, okay? So engage that core, keep it nice and tight, draw on your belly button. You should feel already a little tension in there, okay? Then the next thing I want you to do is also simultaneously squeeze the glute of the leg that is down on the floor, okay? So core tight, glute, and then you can start to lunge forward a little bit, all right? What keeping the core tight and engaging the glute is gonna do is rotate that pelvis. And simultaneously, that's also gonna start stretching the hip flexors. You might also feel it in your rectus femoris a little bit as well. Basically just your quad muscles. So again, the core, glute, lunge forward a little bit. Again, holding for at least 2 sets of 30 seconds. Alternate to the other side. This is a very valuable stretch for today's world, you guys. Hip flexors are super tight in the majority of us. Okay, so the next thing we're also gonna do is called a piriformis stretch. This is for anybody who has a little bit of a problem with their sciatic nerves, or a sciatic nerve. What you're gonna do is lie down, and you're going to take one leg, cross it over to the other one, bring it down as far as you possibly can, grab the other leg, and pull it up. You should feel a good stretch right in here. That right there is what I call the piriformis stretch. Okay? And obviously on the other side, you do the same thing, pull it up, feel good stretch in there. Again, hold it for 2 sets of at least 30 seconds. Okay? And then the very last one we're gonna do, you guys, is kind of like the hip flexor stretch. But for those of you who are doing this in the gym, I want you to grab a really sturdy, hefty band, okay? Also grab a bench if you can. For those of you who are at home, you can also do this with a chair. You're gonna take one knee, put it on top of the chair. All right, take the band and wrap it around the very bottom part of your ankle. You're gonna take this band up over your shoulder, get as much tension on it as you can, pull it over, and then you're simply gonna lean forward, you guys, and you're gonna feel a good stretch, again, in your quad muscles. It's gonna be right in here, you're gonna feel it. If you don't feel much tension or much of a stretch, just bring up more and do it again, okay? Again, on this one, you're gonna hold for 2 sets of 30 seconds. I know that was a really quick video, you guys, but this, I cannot emphasize it enough. Cooling down, stretching out is gonna help your muscles recover. And you guys, that is gonna help you maintain this transformation over time, because a really tight muscle is also an injury-prone muscle. So if we can stretch them out at the end of the workout, this may take a few extra minutes at the end of each workout, but when you get used to it, it will take you less and less time throughout the day. And also when you do foam rolling, I know it's very painful when you first start out, but it will get better. It's kind of dosage related. So again, just to reiterate, if you don't feel comfortable with foam rolling, do just the static stretches. But if you start feeling comfortable with both, you can integrate them both together as well. So yeah, there it is, you guys. There's how you do a proper cool down.